saying. I hope I've tried to explain.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Russell Robinson. I'm a graduate student here at Fairleigh Dickinson University. And the question I have is two-part. Also, I did my research on the internet from the same source, Wikipedia.
Okay. Very good.
And my question to Your Excellency is, the U.S. is the largest foreign investor to your nation.
Okay.
Nigeria is the 50th largest export of U.S. goods and the 14th largest exporter of goods to the United States. What effects that the global economic spiral is having on your nation's economy, particularly on the Nigerian stock exchange and the import and export of goods and services? And secondly, what effects will the plummeting oil prices do to your economy, since 40% of the gross domestic product comes from oil revenues?
We are one. And this is why we pray daily and also hope that the problem in the financial sector, which is called financial meltdown or recession, should find a quick solution. There's no doubt that it's one world today. But just as I read in The Economist, that the misfortune, in quote, of Africa is turning to be its fortune because of its isolation from the world. The ripples of this might not be all that felt immediately in Africa. Well, of course, people were jittery because of the globalized impact of communications. Before you do anything, of course, already in Nigeria, they're probably, what's the time now? They are 5 hours ahead of you. It's to 8 o'clock. It's already past 1 a.m. And once they heard something is happening, so people were going to get panicky. But the central bank governor assured them that not much impact should be expected. Of course, there will be some impact because of our relationship with the United States. Of course, the Nigerian stock exchange used to be the most lucrative, actually. About a year ago, it's about in Nigeria that you can invest $1,000 and within 3 months you have $1,000 profit, because the economy was just growing, the population expanding. But there's no doubt that people have managed the Nigerian economy very well. If there's anything that the Nigerians are grateful for democracy for, is actually the management, prudent management of Nigerian economy. Because the Naira, which is the currency of Nigeria, the money of Nigeria, has remained practically stable for about 20 years. Very stable managed. Since it has remained very stable. Naturally, that's why I read that people are approaching Nigeria, why don't you make your money convertible internationally? But I believe that they're looking at it. Nigeria is still a developing country. We still need real infrastructure, because you see, in my own philosophy, that if a person is not strong enough and you put a heavy burden on him, you might not only lose the burden, you might lose the person too. It's a growing economy. There's no doubt that what is happening in the U.S. will affect Africa somehow. It will. But it might not be as much. But you see, they say the bigger the head, the bigger the headache. Our head is not so big. So the headache might not be that much. God is kind. He compensates. When somebody is bald, usually could have the ability to grow a very large beard. That's the compensation. These are African Nigerian proverbs. I hope you enjoy them.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Elei.
Okay, Rebecca Elei.
Yes. And the question that I have for you, it's interesting that you mentioned infrastructure, because that's what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
One, I read a few articles this summer about the investment that China will be having in Nigeria. Aside from them, getting oil from Nigeria, and the article specifically was talking about a railroad that will be built.
Yeah.
I'm assuming to export the goods that they want out of the country, the natural resources as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to expand on that if you could, and as well talk about the possibility of just corruption in Nigeria in general. It is bad. This is known. And do you feel the government will start investing in roads and infrastructure anytime in the near future? Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca Eli. Infrastructure, infrastructura, it means structure that is behind the foundation. Without foundation, actually, what can you do? If you don't have a strong foundation, whatever you build will collapse. I remember I was so much, almost obsessed by foundation that I went to an architect who was the wife of my friend, and I asked her, very good architect, a lady architect, I said, look, Tony, if assume that I built a very beautiful house, 3-story building, and the foundation was bad, what do you think I could do as an architect? She said, pull it down. I said, can't I do anything? The foundation is bad, but the building is so good, and I love to stay there. I said, look, my best advice to you is pull it down and lay a new foundation. I said, but why? She said, look, she told me that, look, it will cost you almost 3 times more to sustain that house for a few more weeks, more than to pull it down and build a new one with strong foundation. There's no doubt. Infrastructure is the difference between the developed countries like America and the developing countries like Nigeria. That's the truth. The infrastructure in terms of power. If we have power, labor is cheaper in Nigeria. What do you think is making India to move today? Outsourcing. Because they have power. They've solved the problem. And the government of Nigeria has seen this. And that's why of the 6 factors, development factor that is chosen, power is one of the most important. And that's why the investment you heard, whatever you have, you use. Nigeria has oil in abundance, and so it wants to use it to get what it doesn't have. That's wisdom, isn't it? You use what you have to get what you don't have. That's why whoever wants to help, the General Electric supplying a lot of power production engines to Nigeria. I know very well. General Electric of the United States. You are there. So don't be afraid. It's a free market. I remember when I was in the elementary school, the first railway line was built in Nigeria from Lagos to Idogo, 1890. And it's still there, but it's narrow gauge. So the government is expanding it. They want a modern one that can move, like the TGV, the French TGV, move smoothly and faster to move, for the people. That's what it's trying to do. But the problem is money, budgeting. There's balance. The federal government has to propose. Then the Senate has to pass. The House, the Congress has to pass. And that's what we're doing now. In terms of corruption, I think the government of Nigeria has really fought corruption. I will give you some facts and figures. A serving Inspector General of Police was arrested and jailed in Nigeria for corruption. A serving Inspector General of Police. You don't have such everywhere. You know this. Yeah. See? Somebody's mentioning names. I don't. I'm a diplomat. I don't know names. So, you can always Google that out. There is a economic and financial crime, EFCC. It's a name that people fear. Somebody says that the fear of the EFCC is the beginning of wisdom. Because in Nigeria, you can be tried if you are living above your means. And if that is proved, and people go to jail now. So the government is trying. See, it's something that had to do with the past military regime, the idea of impunity. The government of Nigeria now, if I just told you, the idea of rule of law. It's one of the mantras of our president, Umar Yar'Adua, the rule of law. The law must take its course. I was told that the tribunal went and gave its verdict, and a governor lost his seat and was trying to call people, the president said, thank God, and accept it as God's will. the verdict of the court is the verdict of God in Nigeria.